one of these chickens is a big fat liar. In the film Chicken Run, Ginger and the other hens have to break out of Tweety's farm or they'll end up in chicken pot pies. And it seems like every escape attempt they put together is foiled. You could chalk that up to freakish accidents, but I think there's some foul play involved here. There is a spy among the flock. We're gonna figure out who done it. Let's take a closer look, shall we? To narrow down our search, we're gonna have to cross off all of the people, or in this case, chickens, it can't be. The first character off our list is Ginger. It seems a little obvious to cross her off, yes. If I learned anything from watching all of those episodes of Murder, She Wrote, and the Scream franchise, is that everyone is a suspect until proven otherwise. But if we're gonna be honest here, Ginger would have thrown us all for a loop.
You might actually be able to pull this off.
She didn't. She's a good egg, but she could have. The reason she's ruled out is her determination to escape. Even though she's thrown into solitary confinement time after time, it doesn't faze her. She dusts off her clothes, or in this case feathers, and tries again. Also, if she was the spy, I don't think Mr. Tweety would have been so eager to stuff her in a pie machine. Did they just make chicken pies, or did they also make fruit pies? Because if they're just making chicken pies, that's kind of just a waste. Like, Mrs. Tweety has the opportunity to corner the market here, and she's just wasting that opportunity.
Stupid, worthless creatures.
Our second player off the list is Rocky Roads. Not Rocky Road, even though that is an excellent ice cream. Rocky was a performer who came to Tweety's farm to get away from the circus. He really has no real reason to spy for the farmers. Also, I don't even think the Tweetys know he's hiding in their chicken coop. Ginger and Rocky are safe off the list, but that does not mean the other chickens are quite so lucky. They all have the means of doing so. You see, the hens must lay an egg a day. If they don't hit those requirements, they will be sent to the hen house in the sky, or as Bab likes to call it, going on holiday, indefinitely. Any of these chickens might cut a deal with the Tweetys to save their own skin, or feathers? I don't know. However, only 3 have a connection with Ginger that could quite possibly interfere with her escape plans. Those 3 being Mac, Babs, and Bunty. Out of the ones on the list, Mac seems the least likely to slip information to the farmers, mostly due to Mac's involvement in assisting Ginger with her plans. Granted, Mac could easily tamper with the machinery to make them fail, but that doesn't really seem like Mac's style. Knowledge seems like the main motivator here, and I don't think any amount of bribery can change that. Also, there's really no evidence to support that these 2 parties connect in any way, shape, or form. Not as much as the other suspects. The next 10 on our list is Babs. The motivation to spy on Ginger makes sense. It would be pretty easy to eavesdrop on her friends' conversations and then report that information back to the farmers. This whole ditzy vibe could all be just an act, and that's the perfect cover story to keep suspicion away from her. However, there are 2 hitches to her being the culprit. The first is the fact that she doesn't lay eggs for a couple of days. And although Mrs. Tweety doesn't stuff her in a pie for that, instead rewarding the chickens with more food, making Babs look awfully suspicious, until it's revealed that Mrs. Tweety is doing all of this to fatten up the chickens to stuff them in pies.
I don't want to be a pie.
Also, Babs is scared out of her wits by Mrs. Tweety. Either that means that she is a great actress, or she's not the mole. There really is no evidence of the former, so she's just a really happy-go-lucky chicken who loves to knit. If we're gonna make a case for a character that is insanely smart, but is just acting dumb, that award has to go to Mr. Tweety. Now, I know that Mrs. Tweety is the super business savvy lady, but if it wasn't for Mr. Tweety, her business would have gotten nowhere. This guy knows everything that's going on. He knows full well what the chickens are up to, and single-handedly puts this pie contraption together. Mr. Tweety is way smarter than this film gives him credit for.
Look, I fixed it.
Now, from the opening scenes we see Bunty in, it seems very clear that she would indeed sell information to save her own skin. She shows obvious disdain for Ginger and her wild ideas of freedom, plus she's the first one to voice her ideas of not trying to escape. I mean, why should she? Life is good. She's the farmer's golden goose, laying a record amount of eggs each day, and she seems content living a life following the Tweeties' rules. That follow the flock mentality could very well lead her to spy on the others. I mean, for that fact alone, she's looking pretty guilty, right? But then why does she escape with them? Or humor the idea of flying? And with that being said, I don't think she's the spy. Sure, she's stuck in her ways, but she learns to let loose. It's almost like she's a red herring to the real mastermind, Fowler. I guess it wasn't any of the chickens at all. Not only does he have the perfect chicken to place all the blame on, he has the means to mess with Ginger's escape attempts. First of all, he's always cleverly hiding in plain sight, hiding in the background of every team meeting that Ginger puts together. So he's well informed about everything that's going on. He could quite easily sneak in and tamper with something before Ginger and her friends attempt to escape. Second of all, he's a rooster from a military background, so he craves order and discipline. And in this setting, those two things are enforced, thanks to him and the farmers. Fowler has a higher ranking than any of these chickens.
How dare you talk back to a senior ranking officer?
In other words, Fowler is a drill sergeant, if you will. He's always the one commanding the hens to line up straight when getting ready for the Tweeties' inspection, the only lawful force between the hens and the Tweeties. And if the Tweeties are his superior officers, then it would make sense that he would be giving them information. Unlike the hens, who are expendable, Fowler would have no fear of the Tweeties turning him into a pot pie. Do they make rooster pies? I don't think they do. In their eyes, he's reliable and has things under control, until Rocky comes into town giving the chickens crazy ideas that they can fly. As a side note here, chickens can fly, they just don't choose to. Rocky brings in an attitude that goes against everything that Fowler stands for. His authority over the hens becomes threatened. This newfound rivalry towards Rocky adds more evidence to him being the spy. This is also a big reason why he encourages Rocky to go rescue Ginger from the pie machine, in hopes that through his heroic act he could just get rid of him. And after saving Ginger, Fowler's newfound appreciation towards Rocky is false. The reason he's acting this way is because he knows that Rocky is a fake. Mr. Rhodes does not know how to fly, it's just trickery of circus magic. And the only downfall to Fowler's plan is his ego, accidentally revealing too much information about airplanes. Even after Ginger is set on the idea of making an airplane, Fowler still tries to fumble his way to stop her. In his final attempt to keep them on the farm, he reveals that he doesn't know how to fly an airplane. Even though Ginger does coax him into becoming the pilot, how do we know that he's not flying them into a trap or informed the Tweeties of where they're going to go? This rooster is a big fat liar. No, I'm not talking about that movie, even though it is a bop. I actually kind of want to rewatch that movie at some point. That's a good one. I guess we're just gonna have to wait and see if his traitorous ways continue in the sequel, Chicken Run: Dawn of the Nuggets. But hey, that's just what I think. Who do you think is suspicious out of this bunch over here? Let me know in the comments. Click right over here to see a video about fantastic Mr. Fox. Take care of yourselves, and I'll see you next time.